Yo, what's up, guys? Let's talk about Beauty and the Beast. That's right. I'm a grown man. I have Beauty and the Beast on Blu-ray. What are you gonna do about it? It's a good movie. I'll die on that hill. I love watching Beauty and the Beast. So I just saw recently the new live-action version in the movie theater. What did I think of it? I've been thinking about it a little bit. Did I enjoy it? Did I think it was a terrible movie? Is it a completely forgettable movie? I liked it. I thought it's fine. Not a whole lot of negative, so to speak. It follows really closely to the original, so that's a pretty great movie. So this is a pretty great movie by default. The worst parts of the movie are the parts where it decides to deviate from the established formula of the animated version. I can understand on some level the director of this wanting to make the story his own and shake it up a little bit. So, because if you're just gonna make a one-to-one adaptation of a movie that already exists and it's filmed exactly the same way, why even bother? But those moments that are added in, they do stand out as being unnecessary and really just kind of frivolous. Like, there's no reason for them. There's some extra musical numbers. None of them stand out. Can't really recall how any of them go. Might as well be the soundtrack of Moana. It's so forgettable. But maybe that's just because you have them in the same movie with because they have all the iconic musical numbers from the animated version, so it stands out. The new songs really stand out as being kind of forgettable. They can't hang with the classic songs we know from the animated version. Kind of a shame, is what it is. I can understand why they did it, but it's a mistake. It's noticeable. I remember thinking while watching the movie, Beast has a song when Bella's leaving that I thought was fine, comparably to the other songs that they added. It was the least forgettable of them. I've forgotten it since watching the movie, so it's so forgettable. But yeah, for the most part, the extra stuff is what's wrong with the movie, where they decided to deviate. There's some extra stuff with some backstory about Belle's mother that we don't really need, and then the Beast's mother and father that we don't really need. I mean, it's in there now. We learned the very important lesson of why Maurice loves Belle, his daughter. It's because she's his daughter and he loves her and he wants to protect her. Thank you, new movie. I always needed to know that how to solve the grand mystery of why Belle's father wanted to protect her. It's because he's her father. Shocking. Quelle surprise. Who would have ever guessed that was the reason? But they decided to add some shit like that. The Beast has a magical book that lets you teleport other places. So they go to see. I don't know if they went back in time to Belle's crib, or if just no one ever bothered to renovate that room after her and her parents lived there when she was young and her mother died of the plague. I don't really think about it too much. The scene's dumb. It's in the movie, though. For the most part, all the actors do a really great job with their roles. Pretty faithful to what we saw in the animated version. Most of them are just trying to recreate what we saw before. The one exception is Kevin Kline, who plays Belle's father, Maurice. He stands out the most because it's more of a deviation from the character in the animated version. In the animated version, he's more cartoonish. He's kind of a bumbling oaf, but he's got like a sweetness to him, and you kind of get the impression that he wouldn't be able to survive without Belle. They're toned that down a lot in the live action version. I don't know if it worked. It didn't really work for me. I liked the animated version of the character more, but I can understand them deciding he's a little bit cartoonish. They cut out his steam-powered axe-cutting machine as well. Maybe that wasn't needed. I don't know. I just noticed that it was missing. Emma Watson does a good job. Dan Stevens does a good job as the Beast. Emma Watson does a good job as Belle. The person that stands out the most is Luke Evans, which is a shock because I've hated him in literally everything he's ever been in that I've seen. I thought he was terrible in The Hobbit. I thought he was terrible in Fast and Furious. Thought he was terrible in The Raven. I thought he was terrible in. I think he was in one of the more recent Three Musketeer movies. Thought he was awful in that. He was awful in The Raven. He was awful in Dracula Untold. In retrospect, those are all terrible movies. So how much of him being bad can you blame on him, and how much you have to put on the script and the direction? They're all bad movies. So he just destroys it in this. He's amazing. He really nails Gaston. He's chewing the scenery so hard. It's no wonder he's got such a strong jawline. He's awesome. He really stands out. It's just an amazing performance. It's hilarious, and he's great. He is great. What else? There was some controversy, I guess, with the character Gaston and LeFou, his buddy, about them being gay. I think I didn't really see it in the movie. Like, there's obviously the subtext there, and it's there in the original version that, like, LeFou is completely infatuated with Gaston. Do you want to be Gaston, or does he want to be with him? That always existed. It existed in the previous version. And they didn't really dial it up to the extreme at all in this. So I don't know what this gay moment. I don't really read the other reviews. I've seen some headlines, so I don't know what they were mad about. From watching it, nothing really stood out to me. There's a moment at the end of the movie where there's a musical number and they're dancing, and LeFou briefly dances with a man in drag. I think he's in drag, or maybe he was just that character might have been in drag in the previous scene, and then he was just dancing. But like, it's so innocuous. Like that's what you're getting your pitchforks out for. Not really sure why that would be the case. The CGI for the most part is pretty good. All the objects are great. The Beast, I have some problems with the Beast's CGI, and I'm not sure. His face is great when it's just his face, but when he's moving, and particularly when he's moving and Emma Watson is beside him, so there's a frame of reference for what a human looks like moving, it's really stiff and awkward. I don't know what happened there. Maybe the Beast has those weird animal legs kind of bend back a bit, and maybe they had trouble animating that over top of the mocap actor. Hard to say, but it's nothing major. It won't take you out of the movie. If you're looking for it, you're going to see it. And I noticed it a couple times. It didn't really take me out of the movie, but I did take note. Kind of distracting in some moments. But for the most part, it's great. Dan Stevens does a good job. His voice is really great. I've only seen him, as far as I know, in one other movie. Maybe I've seen him in other stuff, but I really liked him in the movie The Guest, which is a horror movie. And his voice, the voice he uses in that movie is a lot different than the voice he uses in this movie, but he really has that gravitas and energy of the Beast. So that's great. So yeah, for the most part, it's a great movie. I have some problems with it, minor quibbles. It's mostly just extra stuff they added in, and it's really stands out as being kind of unnecessary. Didn't really, maybe they thought it would be too short if they didn't have that stuff in it. I don't know. Didn't feel long, really. It's just an enjoyable movie overall. The one thing I would say is they have a version of the scene in this movie, but the version in the animated movie is much better, where the Beast is getting ready to go have dinner with Belle or dance with Belle. I can't remember what the setup was, and they're scrubbing him in the tub, and he has all the curls. They don't have that scene, so to speak. They have a scene where he's in the tub, but he's like behind one of those screens, and then they put like makeup on him, and you laugh because he looks ridiculous. But it's not as funny as the scene in the animated version. So I don't know. That's just a minor thing that stood out to me. Other than that, pretty good movie, pretty great movie. Performances are good. Ewan McGregor, he's great as Lumiere. That's kind of funny. It's like the most ethnically diverse town in 18th century France, and Ewan McGregor's the only guy with a French accent. But it's like that in the animated version too, so it's not a big deal. It's just kind of funny if you think about it. But is what it is. Good movie. I would recommend checking it out. Peace.